The piercing whine of plasma bolts shatters the diplomatic ceremony's calm. Stephen Thomas, human bodyguard to Reman Princess Iris, reacts instantly. He lunges, shielding her with his body as 3 searing bolts strike him. Pain explodes through his chest and shoulder, but he doesn't falter. With a grunt, he pushes Iris to safety behind a marble column. Chaos erupts. Dignitaries scramble for cover. Security teams swarm the area, weapons drawn. Stephen's vision blurs, but he stays upright, scanning for further threats. Iris's violet eyes widen in shock and concern as she takes in his injuries. "Stephen!" she cries, reaching for him. Her advisors pull her back, urging retreat to their ship. "No!" Iris snaps, her regal tone brooking no argument. "I won't leave him." Earth Security Chief barks orders, coordinating a response. "Lock down the perimeter. Get the princess to safety." Stephen slumps against the column, blood seeping through his suit. "Protect the princess," he manages through gritted teeth. Paramedics rush in, assessing Stephen's wounds. 3 plasma bolt impacts. "We need to get him to the hospital. Stat!" As they load Stephen onto a stretcher, Iris pushes past her guards. "I'm going with him," she declares, her normally lilac skin pale with worry. Earth's diplomatic liaison intervenes. "Your Highness, we can't guarantee your safety off-site. The situation is volatile." Iris's eyes flash. "He took those bolts for me. I won't abandon him now." The Earth-Reman summit dissolves into accusations and panic. Human officials suspect Reman involvement. Reman diplomats vehemently deny it, pointing to human extremists. As Stephen is rushed to the hospital, Earth's military mobilizes. Reman ships in orbit prepare for emergency evacuation. In the sterile white of the emergency room, doctors work feverishly to remove the plasma bolts lodged in Stephen's body. Iris paces the waiting room, her ornate robes and alien features drawing curious, sometimes hostile glances from humans seeking treatment for mundane ailments. Hours pass. Tension builds. News networks broadcast security footage of the attack on loop, fueling anti-Reman sentiment. Earth's intelligence agencies launch investigations, probing for internal threats and hostile Reman factions. Finally, a doctor emerges. "He's stable. You can see him now." Iris enters Stephen's room, her heart racing. His eyes flutter open, immediately alert despite the pain. "Princess," he croaks, "are you safe?" She takes his hand, marveling at his devotion. "Thanks to you," she says softly. "You saved my life, Stephen." He tries to sit up but winces. "The assassins?" "Still at large," Iris admits. "But that's not important now. You need to rest and heal." Stephen shakes his head. "Can't let my guard down. You're still in danger." Iris smiles, a mix of exasperation and admiration. "Always the protector." She hesitates, then continues. "I chose you as my guard, you know, against my parents' wishes. They wanted Raymond security, but I insisted on human." Stephen's eyes widen slightly. "Why?" "Because I believe in what humanity represents," Iris says firmly. "Your potential, your determination. You proved me right today, Stephen." Outside the hospital room, 2 worlds teeter on the brink of conflict. But in this moment, a human and a Reman find common ground, united by sacrifice and trust. As Stephen drifts back to sleep, Iris begins to formulate a plan. She'll address both species publicly with Stephen at her side. It's risky, but it might be the only way to prevent an interstellar war. Stephen's eyes open again, sensing her thoughts. "Whatever you're planning," he murmurs, "I'm with you." Iris squeezes his hand. Together they prepare to face the storm, determined to bridge the gap between their peoples and preserve the peace Stephen nearly died to protect. Iris's words hung in the air, a promise of unity between their peoples. Stephen's eyes closed as exhaustion overtook him, but his hand remained firmly clasped in hers. The princess's determination hardened. She would see this through, at any expense. As dawn broke over the city, the hospital buzzed with activity. Earth's military presence intensified, armored vehicles and uniformed personnel flooding the perimeter. In orbit, Reman ships maintained their defensive stance, a tense standoff visible even from the ground. Stephen stirred, wincing as pain lanced through his chest. Iris, who had barely left his side, leaned forward. "Easy," she murmured, her lilac hand cool against his feverish skin. "We need to move," Stephen said, struggling to sit up. "The address is being prepared," Iris assured him. She hesitated, then added, "The doctors advise against you standing." Stephen's heart made stubbornly. "I'll stand." Iris nodded, understanding the symbolism of his decision. She helped him dress in a crisp Earth military uniform, her fingers lingering as she straightened his collar. Their eyes met, an electric current passing between them. The moment was broken by a sharp knock. Earth security chief entered, his face grim. "We've received intelligence," he said. "There may be a conspiracy involving extremists from both our peoples." Stephen's brow furrowed. "Working together? To what end?" "To sabotage diplomatic relations," the chief replied. "We're still piecing it together, but—" His words were cut short as the lights flickered and died. Darkness engulfed the room, punctuated by distant shouts of alarm. Stephen reacted instantly, muscle memory overriding pain. He pulled Iris close, shielding her with his body as they pressed against the wall. In the pitch black, her breath was warm against his neck, her heartbeat a rapid flutter beneath his palm. "Are you all right?" he whispered, acutely aware of her proximity. "Yes," Iris breathed. Her hand found his face in the darkness, tracing the line of his jaw. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Stephen's lips brushed hers, a fleeting, electric touch. Emergency lights sputtered to life, bathing the room in a dim red glow. Reality crashed back in. Stephen's military training took over. "We need to move," he said, scanning the room for threats. "This could be a diversion for another attempt." Iris nodded, all business once more. "Where to?" "Command center," the security chief interjected. "This way." They navigated the hospital's corridors, a surreal landscape of shadows and panic. Patients stumbled about in confusion. Staff shouted conflicting orders. Stephen's wounds slowed their progress, each step a battle against pain. Iris slipped under his arm, supporting his weight. "Lean on me," she insisted. Stephen complied, grudgingly accepting his limitations. They reached the makeshift command center, a conference room turned war room. Human military leaders and Reman officials crowded around tactical displays, voices raised in accusation. "Your ships move position," a human general bellowed. "A defensive measure after your ground forces mobilized," a Reman diplomat shot back. Stephen stepped forward, Iris at his side. "Enough," he said, his quiet authority cutting through the chaos. All eyes turned to them. "We face a common threat," Stephen continued. "Bickering amongst ourselves only serves our true enemy." Iris picked up the thread seamlessly. "My people have no desire for conflict with Earth. We must unite against those who would divide us." A tense silence fell, then slowly heads began to nod. The room's focus shifted from mutual suspicion to strategic planning. As final preparations for the broadcast were made, an aide burst in. "New intelligence, sir. The attacks, they weren't human or Reman." The room erupted in questions. The aide continued. "Preliminary analysis suggests involvement from an unknown third party, an alien race we've never encountered before." Stephen and Iris exchanged glances. This changed everything. Moments later, they stood before the cameras, a united front against an unseen foe. Stephen's face was pale with pain, but his voice rang clear as he addressed both species. "Today we face a threat greater than our differences," he began. "An unknown force seeks to pit us against each other. We must not let them succeed." Iris stepped forward. "As a gesture of trust and commitment to our shared future, I will remain on Earth. Together, we will uncover the truth behind these attacks and forge a stronger alliance between our peoples." The broadcast concluded. Exhaustion and agony finally overwhelmed Stephen. His knees buckled, the room spinning. Iris caught him as he fell, cradling him gently. "I've got you," she whispered, her touch a lifeline in the sea of pain threatening to drag him under. As medical staff rushed to Stephen's aid, Iris stood firm. "I will oversee his care," she declared, brooking no argument. "Reman medical knowledge may be of use." In the days that followed, as Stephen fought for recovery, And Earth and Reman forces cautiously joined hands against a common foe. Iris remained a constant presence. She pored over human medical texts, determined to bridge the gap between their species in every way possible. And in the quiet moments, when pain gave way to moments of lucidity, Stephen and Iris's eyes would meet. Unspoken words passed between them, the promise of something deeper taking root amidst the chaos of their new reality. As dawn broke over the city, the hospital hummed with activity. Stephen's recovery progressed at a remarkable pace, surprising even the most experienced medical staff. Dr. Marcus Chen, the lead physician overseeing Stephen's care, marveled at the results of combining Reman healing techniques with advanced human medical technology. "It's unprecedented," Dr. Chen said, reviewing Stephen's latest test results. "Your body is responding to treatment in ways we've never seen before." Iris, who had barely left Stephen's side, leaned forward with interest. "Our biology must be more compatible than we realized," she mused. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with excitement. "Princess Iris, I believe we have a unique opportunity here. Would you consider participating in a joint research initiative? Your biology could provide invaluable insights for both our species." Iris glanced at Stephen, who nodded encouragingly. "I'd be honored to contribute," she said. "Anything to strengthen the bonds between our peoples." As the days passed, Iris underwent a series of examinations and tests. Stephen, though still confined to his hospital bed, insisted on being present for as many procedures as possible. Their time together intensified, stolen glances and lingering touches becoming more frequent. During a particularly long scanning session, Stephen found himself mesmerized by the graceful curve of Iris's neck, the way her lilac skin seemed to shimmer under the harsh hospital lights. He shook his head, trying to maintain his professional demeanor. Iris caught his eye, a knowing smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Something on your mind, Stephen?" Before he could respond, their moment was interrupted by a sharp knock at the door. Admiral Jonathan Hayes strode in, his face grim. "Thomas, Princess Iris," he nodded curtly. "We've made a breakthrough in the investigation. The assassination attempt was orchestrated by an unknown alien species called the Zarians." Stephen straightened, ignoring the twinge of pain in his chest. "What do we know about them?" "Not much," Hayes admitted. "They're highly advanced, isolationist. Our intelligence suggests they view our alliance as a threat to their galactic dominance." Iris's eyes narrowed. "They seek to divide us through fear and mistrust." Hayes nodded. "Exactly. That's why I'm here, Thomas. We need your expertise. You're uniquely positioned to bridge our cultures and strategies." Despite his ongoing recovery, Stephen agreed to assist. Soon his hospital room transformed into a makeshift war room. Tactical displays flickered on screens, and strategy meetings became a daily occurrence. During one such meeting, alarms blared throughout the hospital. Hayes' communicator crackled to life. "Admiral, a Zarian probe has breached our atmosphere. It's heading straight for the hospital." Stephen's mind raced. "They're after information on our cooperation," he realized. Iris's eyes widened. "I might be able to stop it," she said urgently. "My Reman technology could create a countersignal, but—" "But what?" Stephen prompted. "I'd need to interface directly with your systems," Iris explained. "It's risky, given our technological differences." Stephen met her gaze, understanding the gravity of her proposal. "Do it," he said firmly. As Earth's defenses scrambled to intercept the probe, Iris connected herself to the human systems. Stephen watched, heart pounding, as she closed her eyes in concentration. Beads of sweat formed on her brow, her lilac skin taking on a pallid hue. "Stay with me, Iris," Stephen murmured, taking her hand. He could feel the tension in her body, the strain of bridging two vastly different technologies. Suddenly, Iris gasped. Her eyes flew open, glowing with an otherworldly light. "It's working," she breathed. On the tactical display, they watched as the Zarian probe faltered, its signal weakening. Moments later, it plummeted from the sky, crashing in an unpopulated area outside the city. Exhausted but triumphant, Iris slumped against Stephen. Their eyes met, the adrenaline of success coursing through them. Without thinking, Stephen pulled her close, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. The moment was broken by the sound of approaching footsteps. They pulled apart just as Dr. Chen and Admiral Hayes burst into the room. "We've secured the crash site," Hayes announced, oblivious to the charged atmosphere. "This is a goldmine of Xarxian technology." As the implications of their victory sank in, Iris's communicator chimed. Her face fell as she read the message. "What is it?" Stephen asked, concern etching his features. Iris looked up, her eyes conflicted. "It's the High Council. They're ordering me to return home immediately." Stephen felt his heart sink. He knew the political ramifications of her decision could be enormous, but he couldn't ignore the personal stake he now had in her choice. Iris took his hand, her touch sending sparks through his body. "Stephen, I need your advice. What should I do?" Stephen's mind raced, weighing duty against desire, diplomacy against personal feelings. As they began to discuss their options, the looming Xarxian threat cast a shadow over their newfound closeness, promising challenges that would test both their alliance and their burgeoning relationship. Stephen's mind raced, weighing the implications of Iris's potential departure. He took a deep breath, pushing aside the ache in his chest that had nothing to do with his physical wounds. "We need to find a way for you to fulfill your duty without compromising our alliance," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. What if we proposed a cultural exchange program?" Iris's eyes widened, a spark of intrigue lighting her features. "Go on," she urged. "You return to Rema as ordered, but I accompany you as Earth's representative. It's a diplomatic initiative that serves multiple purposes, strengthening our alliance, gathering intelligence on the Xarxian threat, and," he paused, his gaze softening, "allowing us to continue working together." A smile spread across Iris's face, her lilac skin seeming to glow with renewed energy. "Stephen, that's brilliant. It addresses the High Council's concerns while advancing our shared goals." They quickly set about fleshing out the details of their proposal. Admiral Hayes, recognizing the strategic value, threw his support behind the plan. Earth's government, eager to maintain the momentum of their newfound alliance, swiftly approved. The Reman High Council proved a tougher sell. Stephen watched as Iris engaged in a series of tense holographic conferences, her regal bearing never faltering as she argued their case. Her persistence paid off when the council finally agreed, swayed by the potential benefits of having a human representative on Reman soil in light of the Xarxian threat. As preparations for their journey began, Stephen found himself thrust into an intensive rehabilitation program. Dr. Chen oversaw his care, integrating Reman healing techniques with cutting-edge human therapies. Iris was a constant presence, her gentle touch guiding Stephen through exercises that pushed his recovering body to its limits. "You're making remarkable progress," Iris said one afternoon, her hands steadying Stephen as he completed a series of balance exercises. The warmth of her skin against his sent a jolt through his system that had nothing to do with physical therapy. "I have excellent motivation," Stephen replied, his eyes meeting hers. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken tension. Their closeness didn't go unnoticed. Earth's media latched onto the story of the human war hero and the alien princess, their every interaction scrutinized and speculated upon. Stephen found himself fielding increasingly personal questions during press conferences meant to discuss the exchange program. "Commander Thomas, can you comment on the nature of your relationship with Princess Iris?" a reporter called out during one such event. Stephen maintained his composure, years of military discipline serving him well. "Princess Iris and I share a commitment to fostering understanding between our peoples. Our focus is on the success of this diplomatic initiative." Behind the scenes, however, their connection deepened. Late-night strategy sessions blurred into intimate conversations about their hopes and fears. Stephen found himself captivated by the graceful curve of Iris's neck as she pored over cultural briefings, while Iris's gaze often lingered on the strong lines of Stephen's hands as he manipulated holographic star charts. The day of their departure arrived with a flurry of activity. Stephen boarded the Reman diplomatic vessel, marveling at its sleek, organic design. As the ship broke free of Earth's atmosphere, he felt a momentary pang of vertigo, his body adjusting to the Reman artificial gravity. Iris appeared at his side, steadying him with a touch. "The effects will pass soon," she assured him. Your body is remarkably adaptable. Their journey stretched before them, days of faster-than-light travel in the close confines of the ship. Free from the constant scrutiny they'd faced on Earth, Stephen and Iris found themselves gravitating towards each other during quiet moments. In the ship's observation deck, they stood side by side, watching the kaleidoscope of stars streaking past. Stephen turned to Iris, struck by how the ethereal light played across her features. I never imagined I'd be here, he said softly. Not just in space, but with you. Iris met his gaze, her eyes shimmering with emotion. Nor I, she admitted. You've opened my eyes to so much, Stephen. The moment hung between them, charged with possibility. Stephen leaned in, drawn by an irresistible force. Iris tilted her head up, her breath warm against his skin. A sudden alarm shattered the silence. Red warning lights bathed the observation deck as the ship's captain's voice crackled over the intercom. Unknown vessel detected on intercept course. All personnel to battle stations. Stephen and Iris exchanged a look of commitment, their personal moments set aside as duty called. They raced to the bridge, arriving to find the Reman crew in a flurry of activity. On the main view screen, a massive ship loomed, its angular design a stark contrast to the organic curves of Reman architecture. Stephen's blood ran cold as he recognized the configuration from intelligence briefings. Zarian, he breathed. The Reman captain turned to them, his expression grim. They're hailing us, demanding our surrender. Iris stepped forward, every inch the royal diplomat. Open a channel, she commanded. We'll attempt negotiations. As the communication link established, Stephen moved to Iris's side, presenting a united front. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being unlike any Stephen had encountered. The Zarian's iridescent skin rippled with patterns of light, its multiple eyes fixing them with an unsettling stare. Surrender your vessel, the alien growled, its translator struggling to convey the guttural tones. The human and the Reman princess will be taken into custody. Stephen's mind raced, assessing tactical options. He leaned close to Iris, whispering, We need to buy time. Can your ship outmaneuver them? Iris nodded almost imperceptibly. To the Zarian, she said, We are on a diplomatic mission. Any aggression against this vessel would be considered an act of war against both Earth and Rema. The Zarian's eyes narrowed. Your union is a threat to the natural order. It cannot be allowed to continue. Without warning, the view screen went dark. Moments later, the ship rocked as energy weapons impacted their shields. Evasive maneuvers, the Reman captain shouted. The ship banked hard, artificial gravity struggling to compensate. Stephen steadied himself against a console. What are our defensive capabilities? Iris's fingers flew over the controls, entering a complex series of commands. We have advanced shielding and some weaponry, but we're not a warship. The deck shuddered beneath them as another blast struck home. Warning klaxons blared as a crew member called out, Hull breach in Section 4! Stephen's military training kicked in. We need to seal it off. Iris, with me! They sprinted through the corridors, the ship's twisting organic architecture, a maze to Stephen's eyes. Iris led the way, her knowledge of Reman design guiding them to the damaged section. As they approached, the roar of escaping atmosphere grew louder. Emergency force fields flickered, struggling to contain the breach. Stephen's lungs burned as the air thinned. The manual override! Iris gasped, pointing to a panel near the breach. Together they fought against the pull of vacuum, inching towards the controls. Stephen's muscles screamed in protest, his recent injuries threatening to overwhelm him. With a final surge of effort, he slammed his palm against the panel. Metallic plates slid into place, sealing the breach. The force of rushing air cut off abruptly, leaving them panting in the sudden silence. Stephen turned to Iris, his heart pounding. She met his gaze, her eyes wide with adrenaline and something more. In that moment, with death so narrowly averted, all pretense fell away. Stephen pulled Iris close, their lips meeting in a desperate, passionate kiss. The universe seemed to shrink to just the two of them, differences in biology and culture, forgotten in the heat of shared survival. The ship shuddered again, snapping them back to reality. They broke apart, breathing heavily. "We need to get back to the bridge," Iris said, her voice husky. Stephen nodded, forcing his mind back to the crisis at hand. As they raced back through the corridors, he began formulating a plan. The Zarian ship's superior firepower gave it an edge, but perhaps they could use the Reman vessel's maneuverability to their advantage. Bursting onto the bridge, Stephen approached the captain. "I have an idea," he said, "but it's risky." As he outlined his plan to use the faster-than-light drive to create a spatial distortion, he saw a mix of skepticism and intrigue on the Reman faces. Iris listened intently, her quick mind grasping the implications. "It could work," she said, turning to the captain. "We must try." The captain hesitated, then nodded sharply. "Make it so." As the crew scrambled to implement Stephen's strategy, Iris moved to his side. "Whatever happens," she said softly, "I'm glad you're here with me." Stephen took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Together," he affirmed. The view screen showed the Zarian ship growing larger, its weapons powering up for another assault. Stephen held his breath, watching the faster-than-light drive indicators climb. "Now!" he shouted. The universe seemed to bend around them as the drive engaged. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash, a shimmering distortion bloomed between the ships. The effect on the Zarian vessel was immediate. It listed to the side, its energy weapons firing wildly into empty space. "Target their propulsion and weapon systems," Iris commanded. Precise beams of energy lanced out from the Reman ship, slicing through the Zarian's suddenly vulnerable hull. Within moments, the massive vessel hung dead in space, its threat neutralized. A cheer went up from the Reman crew. Stephen sagged with relief, the adrenaline rush fading. Iris steadied him, her touch a comfort and a promise. "We did it," she breathed. As the Reman captain began coordinating the capture of the Zarian vessel, Stephen and Iris shared a look of understanding. Their victory had implications far beyond this single battle. They had proven the strength of their alliance, not just as representatives of their species, but as individuals united in purpose and, increasingly, in heart. The journey to Rema stretched before them, filled with both promise and uncertainty. But in that moment, with the stars wheeling silently beyond the view screen and the warmth of Iris's hand in his, Stephen knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Together. The Reman ship emerged from faster-than-light travel, the kaleidoscope of stars resolving into a breathtaking view of Rema. Stephen stood transfixed by the sight of Iris's homeworld, a swirling orb of blues and purples, unlike any planet he'd ever seen. "It's beautiful," he breathed, feeling Iris's presence at his side. "Welcome to Rema," she said softly, her hand brushing against his. Their moment of wonder was cut short as alarms blared throughout the ship. The captain's voice rang out, tense and urgent. "We're being scanned by planetary defenses. They've detected the Zarian technology and prisoners. Prepare for emergency protocols." The ship shuddered as it was caught in a tractor beam, guiding them toward a secure docking facility in the heart of the capital city. Stephen and Iris exchanged worried glances as they were ushered off the bridge by a contingent of Reman security officers. "This wasn't the welcome I had anticipated," Iris murmured as they were escorted through the ship's corridors. Stephen nodded, his military training kicking in as he assessed their situation. "We'll need to explain quickly. The Zarian threat might work in our favor." As they disembarked, Stephen's senses were overwhelmed by the alien environment. The air held a sweet, unfamiliar scent, and the gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's. Crystalline structures towered overhead, their surfaces shimmering with what appeared to be bioluminescent patterns. A group of stern-faced Reman officials met them at the base of the ship. Without preamble, they were directed toward a massive structure that dominated the skyline, the High Council chambers. The interior of the chambers was a marvel of alien architecture. Sweeping arches of a glass-like material curved overhead, creating a space that felt both vast and intimate. At the center, 7 elderly male Remans sat in a semicircle, their expressions a mix of curiosity and wariness. High Counselor Zorn, distinguished by his elaborate robes, rose to address them. "Princess Iris, Commander Thomas, You stand before the High Council to explain the events that have transpired. We commend your victory against the Xarxians, but we must express our deep concern about the potential escalation of this conflict. Iris stepped forward, her regal bearing on full display. Honored counselors, we bring vital intelligence gathered from the Xarxian vessel. Their plans pose a grave threat not only to Rema, but to Earth as well. As Iris presented the information they'd uncovered, Stephen watched the council members' reactions closely. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to shock as the full scope of the Xarxian plot was revealed. When Iris finished, High Counselor Zorn turned his attention to Stephen. Commander Thomas, we must know more about Earth's military capabilities. Are your people prepared to face this threat? Stephen straightened, meeting the counselor's gaze. Earth's military is adaptable and resourceful, but we lack experience with advanced alien technology. That's why I propose a joint human Reman task force. By combining our strengths, we can create a formidable defense against the Xarxians. The council chamber erupted in murmurs and heated discussions. Stephen caught fragments of debate, noting the reluctance of some members to deepen ties with humans. As the deliberations continued, a new group entered the chambers. A team of Reman medical personnel approached, led by a female Reman with striking iridescent markings. Counselors, if I may, she said, her voice carrying authority. I am Dr. Lyra, Chief Xenobiologist. I request permission to conduct further studies on Commander Thomas. The interaction between human physiology and our medical techniques could provide invaluable insights. High Counselor Zorn considered the request, then nodded. Granted, but under constant Reman supervision. Before Stephen could respond, Iris stepped forward. I volunteer to oversee the process. My first-hand experience with human biology makes me uniquely qualified. Stephen noticed the raised eyebrows and meaningful glances exchanged among the council members at Iris's offer. The undercurrent of suspicion was palpable. After hours of intense discussion, High Counselor Zorn finally announced their decision. We agree to form a joint task force to be based here on Rema. Commander Thomas will serve as the human liaison, with Princess Iris as the Reman coordinator. As they were dismissed from the council chambers, Stephen became aware of a growing commotion outside. A crowd of Remans had gathered, their voices rising in a cacophony of excitement and curiosity. They're here to see you, Iris explained, as they were escorted to a nearby residential complex. News of your arrival has spread quickly. The complex was a marvel of Reman engineering, its organic curves and bioluminescent accents creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Stephen noted with interest that his quarters shared a wall with Iris's, the proximity both thrilling and daunting. As evening fell, they found themselves at a formal reception, surrounded by Reman dignitaries and military leaders. Stephen navigated the unfamiliar social customs with Iris's guidance, acutely aware of the scrutiny he was under. Dr. Lyra approached them, her eyes bright with scientific curiosity. Commander Thomas, I'd like to begin our examinations tomorrow, if you're amenable. Understanding the interaction between our biologies could be crucial in developing defenses against potential Xarxian bioweapons. Stephen nodded, recognizing the importance of her work. Of course, Doctor. I'm at your disposal. As the reception wound down, Iris led Stephen to a secluded balcony overlooking the capital city. The alien landscape stretched before them, a tapestry of bioluminescent flora and crystalline architecture. Stephen, Iris began, her voice low and intimate, we need to discuss. Her words were cut short by the sudden appearance of a Reman security detail. Commander Krell, their leader, approached with urgency. Your Highness, Commander Thomas, we've detected a potential security breach in the building's perimeter. Stephen's combat instincts flared to life. He turned to Krell, mind already racing through tactical options. What are we dealing with? With? Stephen asked, his body tensing for action. Commander Krell's eyes narrowed. Unknown intruders. Our sensors detected movement near the perimeter, but we've lost visual contact. Before they could formulate a plan, a brilliant flash illuminated the night sky. Stephen instinctively shielded his eyes, his enhanced reflexes kicking in faster than he expected. As the light faded, he blinked in surprise, realizing he could see with startling clarity in the dim aftermath. "Are you all right?" Iris asked, her hand on his arm. Stephen nodded, still processing the unexpected sharpness of his vision. "Fine, but something's different." Their conversation was cut short as Krell's communicator chirped. "False alarm," he reported, relief evident in his voice. "It was a malfunction in one of our atmospheric defense systems. The situation is under control." As the security team dispersed, Stephen turned to Iris. "I think we need to talk to Dr. Lyra. Something's changed." The next morning, Stephen found himself in a state-of-the-art Reman medical facility. The room hummed with unfamiliar technology, its sleek surfaces adorned with holographic displays of his vital signs. Dr. Lyra approached, her iridescent markings shimmering under the bright lights. "Commander Thomas, how are you feeling today?" "Different," Stephen replied, describing the incident from the previous night. "My vision, my reflexes, they're sharper than before." Lyra's eyes widened with excitement. "Fascinating. It seems the combination of our healing techniques and your human physiology has produced unexpected results. Let's run some tests, shall we?" Over the next few hours, Stephen underwent a battery of examinations. He marveled at the precision of Reman medical technology, so different from what he was accustomed to on Earth. As Dr. Lyra analyzed the results, her expression grew increasingly animated. "Commander, these results are extraordinary," she said, pulling up a holographic display of his neural activity. "The Reman treatments have not only healed your injuries, but enhanced your physical capabilities beyond normal human parameters. Your reflexes, strength, and sensory perception have all improved significantly." Stephen absorbed this information, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through him. "What does this mean for me? For the Alliance?" Dr. Lyra's eyes gleamed with scientific curiosity. "I propose we conduct a series of physical tests to measure the full extent of your enhancements, with your permission, of course." Stephen nodded, his military training kicking in. "Whatever it takes to understand this better. When do we start?" The following days were a blur of activity. Stephen found himself navigating complex obstacle courses, engaging in combat simulations against Reman opponents, and pushing his endurance to its limits. Each test revealed new aspects of his enhanced abilities, surprising both him and his Reman observers. During a particularly grueling combat simulation, Stephen moved with a speed and precision that left his Reman sparring partners struggling to keep up. As he dodged a flurry of attacks, he caught sight of Commander Krell watching from an observation deck, his expression a mix of amazement and calculation. After the session, Krell approached Stephen, his posture more relaxed than usual. "Impressive performance, Commander Thomas. Your enhanced abilities could be a valuable asset to our joint efforts against the Zarksians." Stephen wiped sweat from his brow, still catching his breath. "Thank you, Commander. I'm just trying to understand the extent of these changes myself." Krell nodded, a glint of dedication in his eyes. "I believe it's time we put your new skills to use. I'm requesting permission from the High Council to integrate you into our military training exercises. Your unique perspective could be invaluable in preparing our forces for joint operations." As news of Stephen's enhanced abilities spread through Reman military and political circles, Iris found herself in a flurry of activity. Coordinating the joint human-Reman task force was proving to be a complex challenge, made more urgent by troubling reports from the borders of both human and Reman space. Iris pored over the latest intelligence briefings, her brow furrowed in concentration. The data painted a worrying picture. Increased Zarksian activity, suggesting preparations for a major offensive. She knew she had to bring this information to the High Council immediately. As she made her way to the council chambers, she caught sight of Stephen emerging from another training session. Their eyes met, and for a moment the weight of their responsibilities seemed to lift. Stephen's smile, tinged with exhaustion but warm with affection, sent a flutter through Iris's chest. "How are the tests going?" she asked as they fell into step together. Stephen ran a hand through his hair, still damp from exertion. "It's incredible, Iris. I never imagined I could push myself this far, but I can't help wondering about the implications of all this." Iris nodded, understanding the mix of excitement and concern in his voice. "We're in uncharted territory, Stephen. But that's why we're here, isn't it? to forge a path forward together. As they reached the entrance to the council chambers, Iris squeezed Stephen's hand briefly. "We're being called to an emergency session. Are you ready?" Stephen straightened, his posture shifting from weary soldier to alert commander in an instant. "Always? Let's see what the future holds for our alliance." They entered the chambers side by side, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their fight against the Xarxian threat. The doors closed behind them, sealing them in with the Reman High Council and the weight of two worlds' futures resting on their shoulders. As the council doors closed behind them, Stephen and Iris exchanged a meaningful glance, both aware that the coming days would test their newfound alliance to its limits. The emergency session was tense, filled with rapid-fire updates on the escalating Xarxian threat. Reports flooded in from Reman outposts across the galaxy, each more alarming than the last. Stephen's enhanced senses allowed him to pick up on subtle shifts in the counselor's body language, betraying their growing unease. High Counselor Zorn's voice cut through the din. "We've received distressing news from the Belarus system. Our crucial outpost there is under heavy Xarxian attack. We must act swiftly and decisively." Stephen felt a surge of adrenaline, his body instinctively preparing for combat. Beside him, Iris straightened, her regal bearing masking the tension he could sense radiating from her. "The hybrid unit's training is nearly complete," Iris stated, her voice steady. "We propose an immediate deployment to defend the outpost and gather intelligence on Xarxian tactics." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Zorn nodded gravely. "Agreed. Commander Thomas, Princess Iris, you will lead this mission. Prepare your team for immediate departure." As they exited the council chambers, Dr. Lyra intercepted them, her eyes bright with a mix of excitement and concern. "Before you leave, I insist on performing one last enhancement procedure. It could give you a crucial edge in combat." Stephen hesitated, acutely aware of the changes his body had already undergone. "What kind of enhancement?" Lyra led them briskly towards her laboratory. "A specialized serum derived from your combined DNA. It should further boost your physical capabilities and mental synchronization." Inside the lab, Stephen and Iris found themselves lying on adjacent medical beds, a complex array of equipment surrounding them. As Lyra prepared the serum, Stephen turned his head to meet Iris's gaze. "Ready for this?" he asked softly. Iris reached out, her fingers intertwining with his. "Together," she replied. The procedure was intense, unlike anything Stephen had experienced before. As the serum coursed through his veins, he felt a burning sensation that gradually gave way to a heightened awareness of his surroundings. More surprisingly, he became acutely conscious of Iris's presence beside him, as if an invisible thread now connected their minds. Hours passed as their bodies adapted to the changes. When they finally sat up, Stephen marveled at the newfound clarity in his vision and the surge of energy coursing through his muscles. Iris flexed her hands, a look of wonder on her face. "How do you feel?" Lyra asked, scrutinizing her readings. "Different," Stephen replied, struggling to find the right words. "More connected." Iris nodded in agreement. "It's as if I can sense Stephen's thoughts, his movements." Lyra's eyes widened with excitement. "Fascinating. This could revolutionize your combat effectiveness. Now hurry to your ship. Your team is waiting." Aboard the Starfire, Rema's most advanced warship, Stephen and Iris briefed their hybrid unit on the mission. As they outlined potential Xarxian strategies, Stephen found himself completing Iris's sentences, their thoughts flowing in perfect harmony. The crew watched in awe as their leaders demonstrated an uncanny ability to anticipate each other's movements, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization. As the Starfire approached the Belarus system, tension mounted on the bridge. Stephen stood at the tactical display, his enhanced vision processing the incoming data with lightning speed. Beside him, Iris coordinated with the Reman defense forces, her voice calm and authoritative. The ship dropped out of hyperspace and chaos erupted before them. A massive Xarxian fleet surrounded the Reman outpost, their weapons pounding relentlessly against its failing shields. The Starfire's advanced cloaking technology engaged, rendering them invisible to enemy sensors. Stephen's mind raced, formulating a plan. He turned to Iris, their eyes meeting in silent communication. Without a word spoken, she nodded, understanding his strategy perfectly. "Listen up," Stephen addressed the crew. "We're going to split our forces. The main contingent will provide a distraction, attacking the Zarxian fleet's flank. Meanwhile, a small strike team, led by myself and Princess Iris, will infiltrate their command ship." As the plan was set in motion, Stephen and Iris led their strike team to the Starfire's launch bay. They boarded a sleek infiltration craft, its design a perfect blend of Reman and human technology. As the bay doors opened, revealing the chaos of the space battle beyond, Stephen felt a surge of exhilaration. The infiltration craft slipped undetected through the Zarxian defenses, latching onto the hull of the massive command ship. Stephen and Iris exchanged a final glance before donning their helmets. No words were needed. Their enhanced connection allowed them to communicate their drive and trust silently. They breached the hull, entering the alien vessel's labyrinthine interior. Stephen's enhanced senses were on high alert, picking up on subtle vibrations and energy signatures that guided their path. Iris moved in perfect sync with him, her movements fluid and precise. As they encountered Zarxian security forces, Stephen and Iris's combat synergy proved unparalleled. They moved as one, covering each other's blind spots and anticipating attacks before they came. Their team watched in amazement as their leaders carved a path through the enemy defenses with unprecedented efficiency. Deeper into the ship, Stephen and Iris stumbled upon a horrifying sight. In a vast chamber, rows of captured Reman soldiers lay connected to a pulsing alien device. Their eyes were vacant, bodies twitching in response to unseen commands. "A psychic amplifier," Iris breathed, her voice tight with shock and anger. "They're controlling our people, turning them against us." Stephen's mind raced, reassessing their mission priorities. He turned to Iris, their eyes meeting in silent communication. She nodded, understanding his thoughts instantly. "Change of plans," Stephen announced to their team. "We're taking out that amplifier. It's the key to stopping the Zarxians and freeing our people." As they fought their way towards the ship's core, Stephen and Iris's enhanced abilities continued to evolve. Stephen found himself reacting to threats before they fully materialized, his body moving on pure instinct. Beside him, Iris's movements became increasingly fluid, almost precognitive in their precision. Then, in the heat of battle, something extraordinary happened. Stephen heard Iris's voice in his mind, clear as day, warning him of an incoming attack. He dodged without thinking, the energy blast missing him by millimeters. Their eyes met in shock and wonder, realizing they had achieved a new level of connection. With their newfound telepathic link, Stephen and Iris's combat effectiveness soared to unprecedented heights. They communicated strategies and warnings instantaneously, their movements perfectly coordinated. The Zarxian defenders fell before them, unable to counter their seamless teamwork. Finally, they reached the amplifier chamber. Elite Zarxian guards swarmed to protect the device, their weapons charged and ready. Stephen and Iris shared a single thought: destroy the amplifier at all costs. The ensuing battle was fierce and chaotic. Stephen and Iris moved like lightning, their enhanced bodies pushing beyond normal human limits. Their team provided covering fire as they fought their way towards the central platform where the amplifier hummed with malevolent energy. In a moment of desperation, a Zarxian guard unleashed a barrage of energy blasts at Iris. Stephen, reacting purely on instinct, threw himself in front of her. Pain exploded across his chest as the blast connected, sending him sprawling to the ground. Iris's scream of anguish echoed through the chamber, both audibly and within Stephen's mind. As he struggled to rise, he saw something change in Iris's eyes. A primal force seemed to awaken within her, fueled by their shared pain and the intensity of their connection. With a cry of fury, Iris extended her hand. An invisible wave of force erupted from her, slamming into the Zarxian guards and sending them flying across the chamber. Stephen stared in awe, realizing that their enhancement had unlocked latent psychic abilities within her. Taking advantage of the momentary reprieve, Stephen and Iris rushed to the amplifier's control panel. Their hands moved in perfect synchronization, bypassing security measures and initiating an overload sequence. As the device began to destabilize, alarms blared throughout the ship. "We need to go now," Stephen shouted to their team. "Get back to the extraction point. We'll finish this." As their team retreated, Stephen and Iris worked feverishly to ensure the amplifier's destruction. The ship shuddered around them, systems failing as the overload cascaded through its networks. They knew they were running out of time. With the final fail-safes disabled, Stephen grabbed Iris's hand. Their eyes met, a lifetime of unspoken emotions passing between them in an instant. Without hesitation, they came together in a fierce embrace, their enhanced connection amplifying every sensation. In that moment of passion and desperation, their minds seemed to merge completely. Stephen felt Iris's thoughts and emotions as if they were his own, their individual identities blurring into a single, unified consciousness. It was overwhelming, transcendent, unlike anything either of them had ever experienced. The amplifier's whine reached a fever pitch, snapping them back to reality. Hand in hand, they raced towards the extraction point, their movements perfectly in sync. Behind them, the ship's core began to implode, a chain reaction that would soon consume the entire vessel. As they ran, Stephen and Iris's enhanced physiology pushed them to incredible speeds. They leapt over debris and ducked under falling beams, their shared consciousness allowing them to navigate the collapsing ship with preternatural skill. They reached the infiltration craft just as the command ship began to break apart. As they strapped themselves in, Stephen felt a wave of vertigo wash over him. The lines between his thoughts and Iris's had blurred to the point where he could no longer distinguish between them. The craft shot away from the disintegrating Zarian vessel, narrowly escaping the massive explosion that engulfed it. As they sped towards the starfire, Stephen and Iris clung to each other, their minds and bodies intertwined in a way that defied explanation. Aboard the starfire, as the medical team tended to their wounds, Stephen and Iris struggled to process the profound change in their connection. They could still feel each other's thoughts and emotions, a constant flow of consciousness between them. It was beautiful and terrifying, presenting both incredible opportunities and daunting challenges for their future. As the starfire set course for Rema, carrying news of their victory in the game-changing discovery of Zarian's psychic technology, Stephen and Iris knew that nothing would ever be the same. They had glimpsed a level of unity that transcended normal human experience, and the implications of this transformation were only beginning to unfold. The journey back to Rema stretched before them, filled with uncertainty and promise. As they prepared to face the High Council in the next phase of the war against the Zarians, Stephen and Iris drew strength from their unbreakable bond, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. The Starfire's engines hummed as it approached Rema's orbital docking station. Stephen and Iris stood side by side on the bridge, their hands intertwined, minds still reeling from the intensity of their shared experience. As the ship docked, they exchanged a glance, silently communicating their apprehension about what awaited them on the planet's surface. No sooner had they disembarked than a delegation of High Council representatives approached, their faces a mix of awe and concern. Commander Stephen, Princess Iris, the lead counselor addressed them formally. Your presence is required immediately for a closed session with the High Council. Stephen felt a wave of anxiety from Iris, amplified through their psychic link. He squeezed her hand reassuringly as they followed the delegation to a waiting transport. The council chambers were imposing, with high ceilings and ornate decorations that spoke of Rema's long history. As Stephen and Iris entered, they felt the weight of every gaze upon them. High Counselor Zorn, a stern-faced Reman with piercing blue eyes, stood to address them. We have received the preliminary reports of your mission, Zorn began, his voice echoing in the chamber. While we commend your success in destroying the Zarian psychic amplifier, we are concerned about the unexpected developments in your abilities. Stephen stepped forward, his enhanced senses picking up on the subtle shifts in the counselor's body language. High Counselor, with all due respect, our enhanced abilities were crucial to the mission's success. Zorn raised a hand, cutting him off. Be that as it may, we cannot ignore the potential risks. Therefore, the Council has decided that you both will undergo a series of tests to understand the full extent of your new psychic bond and enhanced capabilities. Iris's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. And who will oversee these tests? Dr. Lyra will be in charge of the examination process, Zorn replied. She has the most experience with your enhancements and is best equipped to analyze the results. Over the next several days, Stephen and Iris found themselves subjected to an exhaustive battery of physical and mental tests. They ran on treadmills until their enhanced muscles burned, solved complex equations faster than any computer, and demonstrated feats of strength and agility that left the observing scientists in awe. But it was the test of their psychic abilities that truly pushed them to their limits. In one particularly grueling session, they were placed in separate rooms and asked to complete each other's puzzles using only their mental link. Hours passed as they pushed their connection to its breaking point, their shared consciousness becoming a tangled web of thoughts and emotions. As the final test concluded, Dr. Lyra approached them, her eyes wide with excitement and a hint of fear. "The results are extraordinary," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your DNA has undergone significant alterations, creating a unique hybrid of human and Reman genetic structures. This transformation has not only enhanced your physical abilities, but also created a permanent telepathic link between you." Stephen and Iris exchanged a look, their minds simultaneously processing the implications of this revelation. Before they could respond, an aide burst into the laboratory, his face pale with urgency. "Princess, Commander," he gasped, "you need to see this." They followed him to a view screen showing a live feed from the capital city. Crowds had gathered in the streets, their faces contorted with a mix of emotions. Some held signs praising Stephen and Iris as saviors, while others demanded their removal from power. "Public opinion has become divided," the aide explained. "Many view you as the embodiment of human-Reman cooperation and the key to defeating the Zarians. Others, well, they see you as a threat to Reman genetic purity and traditional values." Iris's fists clenched at her sides, her anger palpable through their psychic link. Stephen placed a hand on her shoulder, trying to project calm despite his own tumultuous emotions. Their moment of shared tension was interrupted by the arrival of Commander Krell, his expression grim but determined. "The High Council is in emergency session," he informed them. "They're debating the implications of your transformation and what it means for the war effort." As they made their way to the council chambers, Stephen and Iris found themselves involuntarily sharing memories and emotions, their individual identities blurring at the edges. The constant flow of thoughts between them was both exhilarating and disorienting, making it difficult to focus on the immediate situation. The council session was heated, with arguments erupting between those who saw Stephen and Iris as invaluable assets and those who viewed them as unpredictable liabilities. Through it all, Stephen and Iris stood united, their hands clasped tightly as they weathered the storm of accusations and speculation. Finally, Commander Krell stepped forward with a proposal. "High Council, I suggest we create a specialized task force under the direct command of Commander Stephen and Princess Iris. This unit would focus on high-risk, covert operations against the Zarians, utilizing their unique abilities to our advantage." The council chamber fell silent as the members considered this option. After what felt like an eternity, High Counselor Zorn nodded slowly. "Very well, we will approve this task force on a probationary basis. But be warned," he added, fixing Stephen and Iris with determined eyes. "We will be monitoring your activities closely." As they left the council chambers, Stephen and Iris felt a mix of relief and trepidation. Their future was uncertain, but at least they had a path forward. They were about to discuss their next steps when an urgent message came through on Stephen's communicator. "Commander," a voice crackled, "we've received a priority transmission from Earth. Their government is demanding your immediate return for debriefing and medical examination." Stephen's heart sank as he realized the diplomatic minefield they were about to enter. He turned to Iris, their eyes meeting in a moment of silent understanding. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their bond unbreakable in the face of an uncertain future. As they prepared to navigate the complex web of interplanetary politics, a new alert blared through the command center. The urgent distress call from the joint Human-Reman research station on Tallos 4 cut through the tension, presenting a new and immediate threat. Stephen and Iris shared a determined look, knowing that once again they would be called upon to put their unique abilities to the test. Stephen and Iris exchanged a grim look, their psychic link buzzing with shared concern. Without a word, they sprinted towards the command center, their enhanced physiology allowing them to move at inhuman speeds. As they burst into the room, the main display showed a live feed from Tallos 4. The research station, once a beacon of human-Reman cooperation, now pulsed with an eerie blue light. Organic-looking circuitry crawled across its surface, transforming the familiar structure into something alien and menacing. "Status report," Stephen barked, his eyes scanning the incoming data. Commander Krell's voice crackled over the comm. "The station's gone dark. We've lost contact with all personnel. Whatever's happening in there, it's unlike anything we've seen before." Iris stepped forward, her silver hair shimmering under the harsh lights. "We need to mount a rescue operation immediately. Stephen and I will lead the team." High Counselor Zorn's face appeared on a side screen, his expression grave. "This is precisely the kind of high-risk operation we had in mind for your new task force. But be warned, we have no idea what you're walking into." Stephen nodded, already formulating a plan. "Understood, Counselor. We'll take our best and brightest. Assemble the team," he ordered, turning to a nearby officer. Within the hour, Stephen and Iris stood in the Starfire's launch bay, surrounded by a hand-picked crew of human and Reman special forces. As they boarded the assault shuttle, Stephen felt Iris's mind brush against his. "Ready?" her thoughts whispered in his head. "Always," he replied silently, squeezing her hand. The shuttle rocketed towards Tallos 4, the transformed station looming larger in the view screen. As they approached, Stephen briefed the team on their mission objectives: locate survivors, neutralize any threats, and secure the station. With a shuddering thud, the shuttle docked with the station. The airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor unlike anything they had expected. The walls pulsed with veins of blue energy, and the air itself seemed to hum with an otherworldly presence. Stephen took point, his enhanced senses on high alert. Iris flanked him, their movements perfectly synchronized through their psychic link. The team moved cautiously behind them, weapons at the ready. They hadn't gone far when they encountered the first of the station's personnel. A scientist stumbled out of a side room, but something was terribly wrong. His skin had a sickly, translucent quality, and his eyes glowed with the same blue light that infested the station. "Dr. Marin?" Iris called out, recognizing the man despite his altered appearance. The scientist's head snapped towards them, his movements jerky and unnatural. With a guttural cry, he lunged at the nearest team member. "Non-lethal takedowns only!" Stephen shouted, springing into action. What followed was a frantic melee as more altered crew members poured into the corridor. Stephen and Iris moved like blurs, their enhanced strength and speed allowing them to subdue the transformed individuals without causing permanent harm. Through their psychic link, they coordinated their movements with uncanny precision. Stephen ducked as Iris vaulted over him, her foot connecting with an attacker's chest. In turn, he swept the legs out from under another, allowing Iris to pin them down. As the last of the altered crew fell unconscious, Stephen and Iris paused to catch their breath. The rest of the team secured the area, their faces showing a mix of awe and unease at the display of superhuman abilities they had just witnessed. "We need to push forward," Iris said, her eyes scanning the twisted corridors ahead. "Whatever's controlling them is deeper in the station." Stephen nodded, feeling the pulse of alien energy growing stronger. "The main computer core. It's got to be the source." As they advanced, the station's defenses came to life. Laser grids crisscrossed the hallways, and noxious gas began to seep from hidden vents. Stephen and Iris took the lead, their psychic abilities allowing them to anticipate each new threat seconds before it materialized. "Left!" Stephen's mind screamed to Iris, who dodged a sudden burst of electricity. "Duck!" Iris projected back as a robotic sentry emerged from the ceiling. Together they guided the team through the gauntlet of hazards, their movements a deadly dance of instinct and precision. Despite the chaos, Stephen couldn't help but marvel at the depth of his connection with Iris. Every thought, every sensation was shared between them, creating a synergy that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Finally, they reached the central chamber housing the main computer core. The massive structure pulsed with malevolent energy, tendrils of blue light writhing across its surface. As they approached, the air itself seemed to vibrate with a cacophony of voices, the merged consciousness of the captured station personnel. At the heart of the swirling mass of energy and data, a form began to take shape. It was amorphous, constantly shifting, but undeniably alien. The Zarian entity had revealed itself. Humans, Remans, abominations. The voices spoke as one, the sound reverberating through their minds. You cannot stop what has already begun. This station is merely the first step. Soon, your worlds will be ours. Stephen stepped forward, his hand intertwined with Iris's. We've stopped you before, and we'll stop you again, he declared, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. The entity laughed, a chilling sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. You have no idea of the power you face. Your minds are mere shadows, compared to our collective consciousness. Iris squeezed Stephen's hand, her thoughts merging with his. Together they formulated a desperate plan. Their hybrid physiology, a unique blend of human and Reman DNA, might just be the key to disrupting the entity's hold on the station. Everyone, fall back and hold the perimeter, Stephen ordered the team. Iris and I will handle this. As the team took up defensive positions, Stephen and Iris approached the pulsating core. They pressed their free hands against the surface, feeling the alien technology interface with their altered biology. The sensation was electric, painful, but they pushed through it. Their minds plunged into a virtual realm of chaos and alien thought patterns. The entity's consciousness surrounded them, threatening to overwhelm their senses. But in this moment of crisis, Stephen and Iris's psychic link deepened beyond anything they had experienced before. Memories flowed between them, childhood fears, moments of triumph, quiet intimacies, creating a shared identity that was more than the sum of its parts. United in body and mind, they began to push back against the Zarian intelligence. In the physical world, their bodies levitated inches off the ground, energy arcing between them and the computer core. Blood trickled from their noses, and their muscles spasmed under the immense strain. But still, they fought on. Inside the virtual realm, Stephen and Iris navigated the labyrinthine structures of the entity's mind. They sought out the core algorithms that held it together, using their hybrid nature to slip past its defenses. There! Iris's thoughts rang out as they finally located the central nexus of the Zarian consciousness. Together, they began to unravel the complex patterns that gave the entity its power. It fought back viciously, assaulting them with waves of alien emotions and fragmented memories. But Stephen and Iris stood firm, their combined will an unbreakable shield. As they dismantled the entity's consciousness, piece by piece, they felt the station around them begin to change. The organic circuitry withered, and the pulsing blue light faded. They were winning, but the battle was just the beginning. With a final, desperate surge, the entity lashed out at them. Pain exploded through their minds, threatening to tear them apart. For a moment, Stephen felt his sense of self begin to dissolve, lost in the chaotic swirl of merged consciousness. But then he felt Iris's presence, an anchor in the storm. Their minds intertwined even further, forming a single unified consciousness that was at once familiar and utterly new. With this newfound strength, they struck at the heart of the Zarian entity. In the physical world, the rescue team watched in awe as Stephen and Iris's bodies began to change. Their skin took on an iridescent sheen, and their hair shifted to a brilliant silver. The air around them crackled with energy as they hovered, locked in their trance-like state. Concerned for their safety, the team's medic rushed forward. "We need to separate them from the core," he shouted, reaching out to pull them away. The moment his hands touched them, a massive surge of energy exploded outward. The shockwave knocked everyone off their feet, filling the chamber with blinding light and a deafening roar. As the dust settled and the team struggled to their feet, they saw Stephen and Iris lying motionless on the ground, their bodies intertwined. The computer core stood dark and silent, the Zarian presence seemingly vanquished. But before they could celebrate their victory, an urgent communication came through from Reman High Command. Long-range sensors had detected a massive Zarian fleet entering the system, drawn by the energy surge from the station. As the team scrambled to assess the situation and tend to the unconscious Stephen and Iris, they realized that their battle against the Zarians was just the beginning. In fact, it might have only just begun. The rescue team stood frozen, their eyes darting between the unconscious forms of Stephen and Iris and the blinking emergency lights that signaled the approach of the Zarian fleet. Commander Krell's voice crackled over the comm, breaking the spell of inaction. All personnel, initiate emergency evacuation protocols. We have multiple hostile contacts entering the system. The team sprang into action, two medics rushing to Stephen and Iris's side. As they prepared to move the unconscious pair, a blinding flash of light filled the chamber. When it faded, Dr. Lyra stood before them, her silver hair disheveled and her eyes wide with urgency. "Step aside," she commanded, pushing past the stunned medics. She knelt beside Stephen and Iris, pulling out a compact medical scanner from her pack. The device hummed as she passed it over their bodies, her brow furrowing at the results. "Their genetic structure is destabilizing," she muttered, reaching for a set of hyposprays. "We need to slow the mutation process before we can move them." As Dr. Lyra worked furiously to stabilize Stephen and Iris, the rest of the team secured the freed station personnel. The corridors echoed with the sound of running feet and shouted orders as the evacuation began in earnest. Commander Krell's voice came through again, tight with tension. "Dr. Lyra, status report." "I've managed to slow the genetic changes," she replied, not looking up from her work. "But we need to get them to a proper medical facility as soon as possible. Their bodies are undergoing a transformation unlike anything we've seen before." "Understood. We have a heavily armored transport en route. ETA 3 minutes. As if on cue, the station shuddered under the impact of distant explosions. The Zarian fleet had begun its assault on Tallos IV's outer defenses. "We're out of time," Krell barked. "Get them to the docking bay now." Two burly soldiers carefully lifted Stephen and Iris onto stretchers. Dr. Lyra hovered over them, monitoring their vital signs as the group moved swiftly through the twisting corridors of the station. They reached the docking bay just as the transport ship touched down, its ramp lowered, revealing a team of Reman medics ready to receive the patients. As they rushed Stephen and Iris aboard, the rest of the rescued personnel filed in behind them. Commander Krell was the last aboard, his eyes scanning the empty docking bay one final time before sealing the hatch. The ship's engines roared to life, and they felt the lurch of acceleration as it pushed away from the doomed station. Through the viewports, they watched as the human Reman defense fleet engaged the Zarian invaders. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, and explosions blossomed silently in the blackness of space. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Lyra worked tirelessly over Stephen and Iris. Their bodies had begun to change visibly, their skin taking on an iridescent sheen and their hair shifting to a brilliant silver. "What's happening to them?" Commander Krell asked, his voice hushed. Dr. Lyra shook her head, her eyes never leaving her patients. "Their DNA is stabilizing into something entirely new. They're becoming the first true human Reman hybrids." A groan from one of the beds interrupted her explanation. Stephen's eyes fluttered open, glowing with an inner light. Beside him, Iris stirred, her hand reaching out instinctively to grasp his. What happened?" Stephen's voice was hoarse but strong. Before Dr. Lyra could answer, the ship rocked violently. Alarms blared as the pilot's voice came over the intercom. "We've got multiple hostiles on our tail. Hang on!" Stephen sat up, his movements unnaturally fluid. Iris mirrored him, their eyes meeting in a moment of silent communication. "We need to help," Iris said, swinging her legs off the bed. Dr. Lyra moved to stop them. "You're in no condition to fight. Your bodies are still adjusting to the changes." Stephen stood, flexing his hands as if testing new muscles. "We don't have a choice. We're the best chance this ship has." Commander Krell studied them for a moment, then nodded sharply. "Follow me. We've got some equipment you might find useful." He led them to a small armory where two sleek combat suits stood waiting. As Stephen and Iris donned the suits, they felt them adjust to their new physiology, enhancing their already formidable abilities. "These are prototype models," Krell explained, "designed to work with enhanced operatives like yourselves." Stephen and Iris shared a look, their psychic link humming with shared purpose. Without a word, they made their way to the ship's airlock. "What are you doing?" Dr. Lyra demanded, rushing after them. "Buying you time," Stephen replied, his hand hovering over the airlock controls. Before anyone could stop them, Stephen and Iris cycled the airlock and launched themselves into space. Their new abilities allowed them to navigate the chaotic battlefield with impossible grace, dodging energy beams and debris as they made their way towards the nearest Xarxian vessel. As they approached the alien ship, Stephen felt Iris's thoughts brush against his mind. "Ready?" she asked silently. "Always," he replied, feeling the familiar rush of their shared consciousness. Together, they plunged into the heart of the enemy, unaware that their actions were about to change the course of the war and their own destinies. Forever. Forever. As Stephen and Iris plunged into the heart of the enemy, their actions set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the future of human-Reman relations and the war against the Xarxians. The battle raged around them as they pushed through the Xarxian defenses, their newly enhanced abilities allowing them to navigate the chaos with impossible grace. Energy beams and debris filled the void, but Stephen and Iris moved as one, their shared consciousness guiding them through the storm. Hours later, as the Xarxian fleet retreated and the immediate threat subsided, Stephen and Iris found themselves aboard a Reman cruiser, surrounded by a mix of awe and apprehension. The ship's crew gave them a wide berth, whispering among themselves about the incredible display of power they had witnessed. Upon returning to Rema, Stephen and Iris were immediately whisked away to a secure medical facility within the capital city. As they stepped off the transport, High Counselor Zorn awaited them, flanked by Dr. Lyra and a team of Reman scientists. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. "Welcome back," Zorn said, his voice a mix of concern and curiosity. "We have much to discuss, but first, we need to understand what's happened to you." Stephen nodded, feeling Iris's hand tighten around his. "We're not sure we understand it ourselves," he admitted. Dr. Lyra stepped forward, her medical scanner already humming. "If you'll follow me, we've prepared a specialized examination room. The technology there will help us analyze your new physiology." As they walked through the facility's pristine corridors, Stephen and Iris could feel the weight of every gaze upon them. The Reman staff they passed stared openly, a mix of fear and fascination in their eyes. The examination room was a marvel of technology, filled with equipment Stephen and Iris had never seen before. Dr. Lyra directed them to 2 adjacent biobeds, each surrounded by an array of sensors and holographic displays. "Please lie down," she instructed. "This won't hurt, but you may experience some unusual sensations as we scan you." As they reclined on the beds, Stephen reached out mentally to Iris. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she responded silently, "just overwhelmed." The scanning process began, bathing them in soft blue light. Stephen felt a tingling sensation across his skin, and his enhanced senses picked up the faint hum of the machinery around them. Dr. Lyra moved between the 2 beds, her eyes darting from one display to another. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your DNA has stabilized into a completely new configuration. The merger of human and Reman genetics has created something unprecedented." High Counselor Zorn stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "What are the implications of this, Doctor?" "It's hard to say without further study," Dr. Lyra replied, "but preliminary results show enhanced strength, speed, and regenerative abilities far beyond those of either humans or Remans. And their psychic link, it's unlike anything we've ever seen." As if to demonstrate, Stephen sent a burst of sensory information to Iris. The cool smoothness of the biobed, the sterile scent of the room, the rapid beating of his heart. She received it all, adding her own impressions to the shared experience. Dr. Lyra's eyes widened as she observed the readings. Their neural patterns are synchronizing in real time. It's as if their minds are becoming one, Iris finished aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. The examination continued for hours, with Dr. Lyra and her team running test after test. Stephen and Iris submitted to blood draws, tissue samples, and complex neurological scans. Through it all, their psychic link hummed with shared thoughts and emotions, a constant reminder of their new reality. As the day wore on, they became aware of a commotion outside the facility. Through the link, they shared glimpses of the scene beyond the walls, crowds gathering, some holding signs of support, others shouting in protest. High Counselor Zorn noticed their distraction. "News of your transformation has spread quickly," he explained. "Not everyone is comfortable with the implications." "What implications?" Stephen asked, sitting up on the biobed. Zorn's expression was grave. "You represent a new chapter in human-Reman relations. Some see you as the future, a bridge between our peoples. Others see us as a threat," Iris finished, feeling the weight of the words. Before Zorn could respond, an aide rushed into the room. "High Counselor, Admiral Hayes has arrived. He brings urgent news from the human colonies." Zorn nodded. "Very well. Prepare the council chamber." He turned to Stephen and Iris. "I'm afraid your day is nowhere near the end. We have much to discuss regarding the Xarxian threat and your role in the battles to come." As they prepared to leave the examination room, Stephen and Iris exchanged a look. Through their link, they shared a moment of silent communication, a mix of tenacity, anxiety, and a deep, unshakable bond. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their minds and bodies united in ways no one else could fully understand. The future of two civilizations now rested in part on their shoulders. As they followed High Counselor Zorn out of the medical facility, Stephen and Iris steeled themselves for the difficult conversations and decisions that awaited them. The transformation of their bodies was complete, but the true test of their new abilities and their relationship was just beginning. The transformation of their bodies was complete, but the true test of their new abilities and their relationship was just beginning. In the weeks that followed, Stephen and Iris underwent rigorous training to harness their newfound powers. Their days were filled with physical and mental exercises designed to push the limits of their hybrid physiology. As they grew stronger, so did their psychic link, evolving into a near-constant connection that allowed them to communicate and coordinate with unparalleled efficiency. Their unique abilities did not go unnoticed by the joint human-Reman military command. Admiral Hayes and Commander Krell approached them with a daring mission: infiltrate a secret Xarxian testing facility and gather intelligence on a rumored superweapon. "This could be the key to ending the war," Admiral Hayes explained, his holographic image flickering slightly in the secure briefing room. "But it's a high-risk operation. We need operatives who can penetrate their defenses undetected." Stephen and Iris exchanged a glance, their minds already in sync. "We're ready," they said in unison. The next few days were a blur of preparation. They were outfitted with cutting-edge stealth technology, their combat suits upgraded to complement their enhanced abilities. Dr. Lyra worked tirelessly to ensure their hybrid physiology could withstand the rigors of deep space and potential Xarxian countermeasures. As they boarded their specially modified stealth ship, High Counselor Zorn approached them. "The hopes of both our peoples go with you," he said solemnly. "May your unique bond be the key to our salvation." The journey to the Xarxian facility was tense but uneventful. As they neared their target, Stephen and Iris activated the ship's advanced cloaking technology. The massive structure loomed before them, a twisted amalgamation of organic and mechanical components that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "Ready?" Stephen asked, his hand hovering over the airlock controls. Iris nodded, her eyes glowing with persistence. "Let's do this." They launched themselves into space, their hybrid bodies adapting instantly to the void. Using their psychic link, they navigated through a maze of energy fields and automated defenses. Their movements were fluid and precise, their minds working in perfect harmony to avoid detection. As they breached the outer hull of the facility, Stephen felt a surge of unease through their link. Iris had sensed something, a pulsing energy that resonated with their own hybrid physiology. They moved deeper into the facility, their enhanced senses on high alert. The corridors twisted and shifted, as if the structure itself was alive. They encountered no Xarxian personnel, which only heightened their suspicion. Finally, they reached the heart of the facility. What they saw there made their blood run cold. A massive device dominated the chamber, its core pulsing with an otherworldly light. Streams of energy flowed into it from all directions, warping the very fabric of space-time around it. "This is it," Iris whispered, her voice tinged with awe and horror. "The superweapon." Stephen's mind raced as he analyzed the device. It's not just a weapon, he realized. It's a dimensional manipulator. It could erase entire star systems from existence. They shared a moment of silent communication, understanding the full implications of their discovery. This weapon had to be destroyed, despite the toll. As they moved to sabotage the device, a piercing alarm shattered the silence. Xarxian security forces poured into the chamber, their bio-enhanced bodies twisted into living weapons. Stephen and Iris stood back to back, their minds and bodies in perfect sync. As the first wave of soldiers attacked, they moved as one, their enhanced strength and speed allowing them to hold their own against overwhelming odds. Energy beams crisscrossed the air as Stephen and Iris fought their way through the Xarxian forces. Their psychic link allowed them to anticipate each other's movements, creating a deadly dance of efficiency and power. But the Xarxians kept coming, their numbers seemingly endless. Gradually, Stephen and Iris found themselves pushed back towards the core of the superweapon. "We can't keep this up forever," Iris thought, her mental voice strained. Stephen's mind raced, searching for a solution. Suddenly, he had an idea. "The weapon," he thought back. "It's drawing power from the same dimensional energy that fuels our abilities. If we overload it..." Iris caught on immediately. "We could destroy the entire facility." Without hesitation, they clasped hands, their bodies beginning to glow with iridescent energy. They channeled their combined strength into the device, pushing their hybrid powers to the limit. The superweapon's systems began to destabilize. Alarms blared as massive explosions rocked the facility. The Xarxian soldiers fell back in confusion and fear as the structure started to collapse around them. "We need to go now!" Stephen shouted over the chaos. Hand in hand, they fought their way through the disintegrating facility. They spotted an escape pod and made a desperate dash for it, Xarxian energy beams nipping at their heels. They launched just as the facility exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave caught their pod, sending it tumbling into deep space. Through the viewport, they watched as the destruction of the superweapon triggered a chain reaction, wiping out the entire Xarxian fleet that had gathered for the weapon's demonstration. As the light faded and the pod's tumbling slowed, Stephen and Iris found themselves adrift in the vastness of space. The pod's systems were damaged, leaving them with no way to navigate or call for help. They huddled together in the cramped space, their hybrid physiology protecting them from the harmful effects of prolonged space exposure. Using their psychic link, they focused their remaining energy on sending out a distress signal, hoping it would reach friendly forces before their air ran out. Hours passed, feeling like an eternity. Stephen and Iris clung to each other, their minds intertwined, drawing strength from their unbreakable bond. Just as their hope began to fade, they spotted a flicker of movement in the distance. A massive ship dropped out of hyperspace, its hull bearing the insignia of the joint human Reman fleet. Smaller vessels swarmed around it, and soon their pod was bathed in the light of a tractor beam. As they were pulled into the flagship's hangar bay, Stephen and Iris shared a moment of profound relief and joy. They had succeeded in their mission, dealt a crippling blow to the Xarxian war effort, and lived to tell the tale. The pod's hatch opened, revealing the smiling faces of Admiral Hayes and Commander Krell. "Welcome back, heroes," Hayes said, his voice filled with pride and gratitude. Stephen and Iris stepped out of the pod, their hands still clasped tightly together. As the crew of the flagship erupted in cheers, they knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, and in the history of human-Reman relations.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.